This week's moral challenge is a very common question, which is, how does the Christian who wants to be faithful to God relate to the government? And the answer is, it depends, which I guess is also the reason why it's a moral challenge, because in part the answer depends upon where you are. If you are in a place like North Korea, if you are in a place like Saudi Arabia, if you are in a place like Myanmar, the Christian does not have political agency. In other words, you might be a citizen, but as a citizen, you do not do things except be a subject to the government. It's a very unique and different situation. If you were in a place like the United States, where we say that a citizen can become an office holder, all the way up to President of the United States. That's a very different state of affairs. And it's a state of affairs that really we don't see in the Bible. So we have to derive from what the Bible tells us ways to think about how we can participate in government. Because what's it like in the first century? It's the Roman Empire. And even if you're a citizen like Paul was of Rome, you have some rights, but you're not going to be the person that is in the Roman Senate or having some role in that monarchy of shaping the direction of society. And the church was definitely seen as kind of being an outlier from society. But in the United States, if you're a citizen, you can do things like vote. You can do things like run for office. You can do things like write to your congressman. So what does all this mean? It means that there is a level of agency that most people have not had in world history, actually. And for the Christian in the United States, what I would say is, how should we relate to the government? Here's a simple way of thinking about it. We relate to the government in a country like this, where we think about how, in terms of being a citizen, how can we use being a citizen as a way to think about ways of loving our neighbor through the kinds of things that government does. Christians differ on how much the government should do or what kinds of things the government should do, but the government does do some things to help us to have a life that is safe, a life of opportunity, a life where hopefully we're getting better and better at being a more just society that enables the flourishing of people. We talk about equal opportunity, those types of things. In this kind of society, a Christian is thinking about then, what are the ways that I can, at least by things like voting and maybe writing to the mayor or writing to your senator or your state senator or to the governor, how can I be someone who is trying to contribute to seeking the good of others? And really, I think that's what it comes down to. There are some Christians who would suggest that in a country like this, then the goal is really for us to strongly run society. In other words, that society should be managed by the Bible. Well, the problem is that the Bible doesn't talk specifically about all the things the government does. And Christians are not the only people in this country. We're in a pluralistic society. So in this pluralistic society, the question is, how do we live well with others using the agency that we have as citizens, and using that agency as ways to seek the good of our neighbor and not just for ourselves? That's really how I think we ought to think about answering that question.